This is Super Mama, ready? Ready? One, two, three, four.
Hello and welcome to Pushing Desi Culture, the podcast. My name is Sid Pandya and we are recording inside MediaWorks Studios in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Today, my guest is Miss Nandini Tirumala, who is the project director with the South Asian Center of Windsor. Welcome to the show, Nandini.
Thank you for having me, Sid.
Hey, no problem. It is a very special day today. On the day we are recording, today is Remembrance Day, the day on which we remember those men and women who gave their lives for Canada, lest we forget. And it's also a few days before the festival of Diwali, before the festival of Deepawali as well, as it is called in parts of India. So, I was thinking about before we talk about, the project and the fantastic work that's being done at the South Asian Center of Windsor, I wanted to set some perspective and, give some background to our viewers and listeners. And, Diwali, for me personally, it's hands down in my top 3 favorite festivals of all time. Especially those that come according to the traditional Hindu calendar, because that's a gift that keeps on giving. We have so many festivals that come throughout the year. So, with this festival, it's the celebrations have changed and the type of the way we celebrate the festival has changed. But regardless, I recognize its importance in our mental health and well-being. So this is why I wanted to invite you onto this show and talk to you about that. So first of all, please share with us a little bit about your favorite memories of Diwali and something that you could think about.
Deepawali is an amazing festival for the whole family to come together.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about now going back to my childhood days of my memories of Deepawali, I know that we all talk about sweets, fireworks, and then, going to people's homes, buying new clothes, because Deepawali always signifies like a new beginning for everybody. You celebrate, homes are cleaned and everybody is joining together because they think it's like something that we have to clean not only our inside but also the outside. So that's like a symbolic way of doing like a cleaning of the whole neighborhood and people come together. So the Deepawali that I celebrated growing up in India definitely is a different Deepawali than the Deepawali that I celebrated here.
Definitely.
Yes, and I also remember my first Diwali in Canada. It was different, but it still had the same charm and the same glow and happiness that we all share together. And I think I remember London, Ontario was the first place I arrived in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where I did my first Deepawali.
So, it's a great point that you've made, about cleaning, going back a bit about not just the inside, but also outside around. And for those who don't know, Diwali or the Festival of Lights is the celebration of the victory of good over evil. I think those themes are so relevant in the current climate.
And we also talk about light coming over darkness, right? And right now with COVID and everything, I think this Diwali is going to be very special. It's different, but it's going to be special because we're going to pray for light over darkness.
Very much so. Very much so. It's going to be different because, you're not able to, there's a community aspect of it, which you talked about as well. And, it is very common. It's almost like Christmas for Hindus.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So that's the level at which it's celebrated and exchanging gifts, sweets, the get-togethers. So obviously the get-together part of it is obviously going to be different this year. And it's, we have to adjust.
Yeah. It is going to be different. Like when you talk about Windsor itself, we know that every year we have such large gatherings and prayer groups that happen at both the temples in Windsor. Then we have parties which people throw with each other. Then you have the big fireworks that are held in different places, and kids look forward for it. And so that's so important for their memory that, okay, this Diwali comes, we do this. And it's also an opportunity for people to display their art and culture through different entertaining events that happen within the community. So when you think about this Diwali, it's going to be a scaled down version of our regular Diwali. So what does it mean to all of us, mentally? So that's something that we all have to think about. Is this something that we are going to remember as a special Diwali?
For me personally, I think, it's a very different year. It's been a challenging year, not just for me personally, but for everybody. It's been a mixed bag with everything that's going on and everything that's going on around the world, especially in India right now, with the lockdowns and the limited scale down versions of it. But there's it's not normal.
Yes.
Long story short, these are different times, and we need to adjust, and there's different ways. But we find that this is also one of those times where, sometimes people just may not have the right resources to help. And I think this is where I wanted to really talk about. And I when I first found out, let me take a step back. When I first found out about the South Asian Center of Windsor's program, the South Asian Health Information System, under which the project is currently going on, I thought it was a fantastic initiative, SAHIS. So please tell us about that.
SAHIS is an initiative that was started to just look at how are South Asians different, whether it comes to our physical health, mental health, and what are some of the research and resources that we need to have to understand ourselves better, and how does that knowledge help others in the community to understand and give proper guidance or treatment or consultation to us. So it started out with that kind of an initiative where we could use information and research to educate everybody else around us. And so that's how it started. And with COVID coming, we know that mental health, as you know, everywhere, we talk about it as a crisis that has been unfolded due to the COVID. And so when you look at all the research and stats that's going everywhere around in Canada, we know that South Asians as a community itself has been impacted by COVID in terms of the loss of employment, loss of income, and a lot of newcomers from South Asian communities coming into Canada, not having the resources to have a good beginning and, supports to adapt and to assimilate with Canada. And then we have seniors who have been now told as the most vulnerable communities. So for seniors, it's a double whammy because they also have the winter now to take care of, but at the same time, they cannot do the usual social visits with their grandchildren or with even the community members. So we do look at it as, very important for us in the South Asian community that we need to be addressed. And we're glad that we got this funding and we are, initiating this program, and we want to see how it can benefit all of us.
Yes, we want to shout out the Windsor Essex Community Foundation.
Yes, and
for supporting.
and the the Emergency Community Support Fund that the government of Canada has provided us with. So that is going to be very important. And I think that kind of an investment in communities like ours, we are a racialized community, and we have barriers when it comes to accessing supports and services. We have communities and members who do not have the language needs to access some of these services. And sometimes you may have the language needs, but not culturally relevant models that work for us.
Yes.
Right? So it is going to be very difficult for them to go the right way, the pathways that are traditionally taken by any other person. And that is what makes this program very unique. And we're looking forward to seeing how it is, received by the community.
I like I said, I love this. The first time I heard about this was when Jeevan Gill, just before his election, Councillor Gill was on my show, and he was talking about this. He mentioned this, and that's what really got my attention.
Okay.
So going back on, the project itself, there are a lot of challenges there, and you've talked about them very well, in the challenges as well as the opportunities for growth that are there. To take these traditional pathways, I think is only possible once people are aware that these exist. Yes. And this is why I wanted to invite you on this episode, so that more people can be aware of that there are these resources available. These resources are available in different languages, Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, Tamil, and other languages. So it's a diverse community. They have diverse needs, and the center is able to provide them with these diverse resources.
Yes. And that is what we want to give our community, because when you look at the Indian subcontinent itself, we have all these different countries which are together. We do have like a common understanding of what all our cultures are like, and we are similar in a lot of aspects. But again, within that, we also have diverse languages and diverse religions and diverse, cultural aspects that we need to address when we talk about mental health. And mental health as a topic itself is a very challenging topic. In my 25 years of working in this field, I can tell you that one thing is to create services and programs. The other thing is create changes in attitudes and behaviors. Because with this, we are here not only going to say that we are available to help you, but we also have to actually create this awareness and change attitudes.
I think that's a fantastic point that you made, and that can happen only once you start a conversation.
Yes.
It's so important to take that first step.
Yes. So just saying that we have this mental health program is not enough, but it takes a lot to say, how do we take this message out in the community, and how do we do it in such a way that people are interested? People want to get involved, and people want to know more about it. Because the more literate they become about the topic of mental health, the more there is an opportunity for them to understand what and when they should seek help. So that is the whole idea behind SAHIS, as well as the current mental health initiative, is let's go out to the community, tell them that this is what it is, and these are some of the things to look for. And if you have things which are difficult for you to talk, we have someone in the community who can talk to you about it. Because it's not easy for people to just go and talk about mental health as easily as you talk about physical health.
No.
And that's where culture comes in play, because when you talk about physical health, it's easy to go and say, I have a headache, or I have, a tummy ache, or I have a ear pain. But it's not that easy for somebody to go and talk about their internal, emotions or personal stuff, to go and disclose it with someone who they think may not understand their culture. So that is what we are trying to do with this initiative is, okay, come here, tell us
It's
what
confidential.
it is. It is confidential.
100%
It is
confidential.
free. And the whole idea is just by seeking help doesn't mean now you're going to be labeled.
No.
So that's what we want people to understand. Sometimes you could just go and say, I just want to know about why I'm feeling this way, or what's going on with my daughter, or what's happening with, this way. And especially with COVID, even people who thought that they were doing well, I see, are showing certain, different behaviors and emotions because of the whole uncertainty and anxiety that COVID is presenting to all of us. So it could be even each one of us sitting here who thinks that, why am I feeling this way?
And it's you may not, like you said, you may not know the symptoms as they present themselves. Like if you have a headache or if you have a tummy ache, you know that, okay, some part of your body's hurting. So you go to the GP and But if you're feeling low, if you're feeling down, if you're having a hard time falling asleep, things like that, you may not be able to quickly or immediately pinpoint at a concern. And sometimes it's not just the one thing, right? It's a series, it's a whole spectrum of symptoms or things that people may feel, or how the problem might manifest itself.
Yeah. And that's what we want people to know, that there is wellness and illness, but there is a wide range in between. So one thing is to keep your wellness and your mental health. And then over a period of time, if it occurs too often, and if it comes with a range of other symptoms, it's only then going to become an illness. So if you come for help when you are noticing some changes, it can actually prevent you from, getting into a crisis when you are totally unable to cope with whatever regularly you cope with, and you end up going into an emergency or get hospitalized, or you're developing a long-term issue. And that is very important for people. I tell that even about the young people, because studies have shown that 14 is a very important age when, usually between 14 and 24, there is onset of mental illness. So it's very important that we educate not only the parents, but also the youth to know that, hey, if there are things that you are finding it very different than you used to feel before, just go talk to someone.
I'm going to come back to the youth, but first I want to talk about a point that you made early on, was about how in the face of the pandemic, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the government across the levels have recognized that the seniors are one of our most vulnerable population. Now, due to the adjustments that everyone has had to make due to COVID, our seniors in our community may not find the usual resources which they usually had, like going to the temple or the mosque or the gurdwara, and being able to go to the church and just, engaging with other people from your community. That may not be happening anymore. And there may be other limitations on ride sharing, transit, etc.
Yes.
So I think it is really, how do you think that we can get more, what kind of barriers do you see in reaching out to these seniors here?
Yeah, that's a good point, because seniors on the whole now, with the second wave coming, are going to be more, isolated. Even if they live with families, there are only a few people that you can communicate with. And with all the activities such as work from home, the grandchildren working from home, there is a lot of limited interaction that's going to happen. And the regular friends and outings, the walks and the community activities that they were looking forward to is not going to happen this year. And we also know that there are a percentage of seniors who usually go to India during the winter. And this year, many of them have chosen not to.
That's a good point.
So which means that they are all going to be here. Winter is coming and COVID cases are rising, and then you're going to be at home. So this is going to be one of our big challenges, but I think that is the reason we are here. And we are looking at finding ways to also connect with them, virtually, trying to develop some virtual support groups, and also develop like a friendly call service, which can be done with our seniors, so that we can talk to them and just have a chat about, what's happening in Windsor, what's going on. Because any additional contact with a person has always said that it increases your sense of well-being.
Fantastic.
So even if you have one additional person that you could talk to, that could be one of the big things that happened that day, and it can change even your whole perspective on that particular day, no matter what you were going through.
And I think that's what I want to highlight, because this is not in a medical setting. This is a very conversational style. The kind of support that the center is providing under this initiative. It's just a conversation about how your day is going. What are you feeling like, with the festival season or not, or something else. You sometimes just need someone to talk to. And that one connection, just that one person, makes a huge difference.
Because as a community, we are very close culturally, right? It's very hard, for South Asian families to share anything personal with an outsider. That's just, we are always, when you talk over the phone, we always say, good, badhiya. How are you? We always say, well, fine. Because we do not want to share anything that's not well. Because as a culture, we think that's not something you share with somebody.
It's an attitude problem.
And it is cultural. We grew up with it. And I don't think ever till today I have called my dad, and my dad has ever told me I'm doing not good. It will come later in the conversation when you probe, and I ask, so how did the day go? Did you go to the doctor? Like my dad lives in India. But the whole thing is, it's not easy for somebody to just take a phone and to tell us that, by the way, I'm having a bad day, can I talk to you? It's not going to happen in our culture. So it has to start with a conversation about everyday happening, how things are going, a lot of positive stuff. And then you are going to hear people when they build that trust in you, and when they can see that, okay, she's a person I could, share something about, and maybe I'll ask her. And I've seen that, working with a lot of newcomers, immigrants, that has been my primary focus of work. I have seen that it takes time to build trust, and it's not going to happen in one session or two conversations. But when you make it as a very open, easy, and a very light-hearted conversation, you then see people trying to open up. And that has always been my style, is tell people that it's nothing threatening. It's not like a doctor's office. You might come there and see me walking around, going here and there, and you just come sit with me. We'll chat, and over the chat, we try to find out about each other. And then you can tell me what's going on. And a lot of times I usually start with very, very tangible things like, what did you eat? What did you do? How often do you cook? Or something. And so that's when they'll start saying, oh, I didn't cook today because I wasn't feeling good. So it's always about connecting, in a very non-threatening, instead of probing, into their lives. And so that's the kind of things we have to do when we say culturally relevant.
And it's with a delicate touch.
Yes.
Is what I hear there. Like,
Yeah.
it's a delicate touch because you're aware, you're cognizant of the cultural factors in play. There's adjustments that are needed.
Yeah.
Not just in, these are some of the, I think, the roadblocks that you mentioned early on, or the challenges, I should say, not the roadblocks, but the challenges that need to be faced.
Yeah, and when you work in mental health, when you get into something like this, that it's not going to be something that's just going to start on day one and it's going to end on this day. There are going to be aspects where we have to go and constantly innovate. You have to think, okay, let me be creative about this aspect. If this doesn't work, maybe this will help somebody, open up. And we have to look at our Windsor community. We have diverse groups of people. Everybody is doing their own things. And so for us as a South Asian center to bring people together and to say that this service is available and these are some of the things we can do for the community is very important. Because going forward with the kind of population that's growing in Windsor, we can see that there is going to be a lot of need for programs and services. And so we have to build it with the community's participation.
Because I think, healthy members of the community equals a healthy community.
Yeah.
Right? It's the way, like, when you're building these healthy people who are then going out and contributing in meaningful ways in wherever they work, live, play, shop, eat, in different ways, right?
And that's what the government wants as well, because we do want, the government wants to reduce the healthcare costs. If we are not supporting somebody when things are, just starting, we are going to end up seeing them in hospitals, in emergencies.
Exactly.
And then it's going to put pressure on the healthcare system. So when they invest in communities like ours and say, hey, see what's going on and see how you can support them, we are helping our community, but at the same time, we are also helping the overall, Windsor, the community and also the province and everywhere. So that's where we are all connected.
I think that's a great point. It's cheaper in a big picture scheme of things.
Yes.
It's cheaper to invest in, health and wellness rather than having to spend time, money, and energy in dealing with sickness and illness. I think
that's where I think everybody is going. And that's where we say that even when people are, for example, the working population, we say that let's invest in workplace mental health, for example. So that would be a good investment for companies to do, to support their employees during, like, for example, now COVID. There are people working remotely at home, and it's not an easy thing to work, at remotely. And then you have people who have to change their job for this, because of COVID. And then you have people who are not able to interact with each other, and all the employees are, working in silos, all by themselves. So those are all challenges, and not everybody will be able to, participate actively and, feel well. So it is very important for even the managers and supervisors to check with their employees. Is everything going okay? How are things at home? Do you need some supports?
Speaking of a diverse community, from seniors, let's talk about the youth now. There are those who are growing up in the current climate, a different way of going to school. And then there's the youth that are, the immigrants who have come over. So they have, their own diverse needs. What's your message to them?
Well, the most important thing is the parents are very worried. The parents are very worried about their youth. Even those who are doing remote learning as well as those who are going to school, because we look at youth as a very energetic period where they have to expand, where they have to explore, they have to try new things, and they have to learn social skills by going into a school and socializing with others. So we see that is something that worries everybody. As much as it impacts on the youth and they may not be showing it right away, we all know that there could be short-term and long-term consequences with this whole COVID and how it has affected all their lives. So it is very important that youth also pay attention to it. And schools and families have to work to see and do a regular check-in on them to say how they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because quite often with youth, we think that if they don't do work academically or they're failing, that's the only time when people think there is a problem, especially in our culture. You know, that
That's
as
true.
long as everybody is getting good grades, there is no problem. But the moment something happens with grades, they say, what's going on, right? So in a climate like this, not much focus on grades, not much focus, of discipline and everything, you're not going to see any obvious signs. So it is very important that youth communicate what they feel, and the parents also check and ask them how they feel, because it's not going to be easy for somebody to just open up and say. And so if they think that, a help would be available, they can come and ask us. So communicate, I would say.
And if there's anybody who's listening, I think this was such a great message, that like kind of sums up what you just said, like, the last few lines about like, the communicate.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you're the youth or if you're seniors or anywhere in between. And
It's important.
It's so important. And that's why these resources are available in the community, where people can call in. You don't have to make an appointment even to go like drive, or if you're not able to like, get there, take transit or anything, just pick up the phone, give the South Asian Center a call.
Yeah.
I will be sharing the number here on when we share the video and we share the podcast episode, so that more people can be aware of this. There's a fantastic flyer as well that sums up the needs of the communities. Is there any particular thing that you want to add further to this?
I think it's good. I would say that this Diwali is going to be different, but let's be optimistic, and maybe patience is the biggest gift that we can get for each other.
Definitely. I think that's fantastic. On that note, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. For everyone celebrating around the world, I just want to wish a very quick happy Diwali and a prosperous new year. As my guest has so rightly said, patience is the best gift that we can give each other and get for each other in this season. Please look out for each other. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next episode. Till then, please make sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe on all your favorite social media platforms. My name is Sid Pandya. This is Pushing Desi Culture, the podcast. We'll be back soon. Take care. Bye now.